Hello and welcome to VFH. I have been away for a very long time. Hopefully this time I will not be gone for that long. So our topic today is going to be Africa. Where does Africa stand in this world? What is the world economy? Africa is a continent that has a lot of potential for growth. Do not get me wrong. I don't mean that Africa is not growing. Africa is still growing, but the pace of growth is not fast enough. It's not as it should. We need Africa to grow at fast pace and supersede the expectations of other continents. To help Africa develop and catch up with the rest of the world, there are several things that African people and African leaders need to do. One of the most important thing is that Africa needs to focus on economic growth and stability. This can be achieved in several ways. For instance, Africa needs to invest heavily in agriculture, which has the potential to become a major driver of economic growth. Agriculture can provide food security, create jobs, and support rural development. So Africa needs to produce its own food instead of importing from other non-African countries. Producing more food will help reduce Africa's dependence on imports and create a more stable and sustainable economy. More food is being imported from outside of Africa. Why? According to an analysis done by the African Development Bank, Africa imports about 35 billion worth of food from non-African countries, and it is estimated that by the year 2025, food imports might reach $110 billion. That's a lot of money, considering the fact that Africa has 65% of arable land in the world. If that money is spent within Africa, it could significantly improve the African economy, and a lot of people will have jobs. So why are African countries looking outside of Africa when there is enough space and manpower within Africa to produce food? Africa has to produce its own food. That's it. Relying on imports is definitely slowing African economic growth. Africa has to be self-sufficient in terms of food production. So, to be self-sufficient, Africa needs to invest heavily in agricultural education, and research. This will help farmers learn a new and more efficient way of producing crops, and encourage the development of new technologies that can make farming more productive. For example, Africa can explore the use of precision agriculture, which uses technology to optimize the use of input like water and fertilizers. By doing so, farmers can produce higher yield with less waste, which reduces the cost and increase profits. Another way to increase agricultural productivity is through the use of biotechnology. For example, genetically modified crops can help protect crops from pests and diseases, and can also reduce the need for expensive chemicals. While there are concerns about the safety and efficacy of genetically modified crops, studies have shown that they can be safe and effective when used properly. That being said, I am not saying that the technology is not in Africa. Of course, there are several countries in Africa that are utilizing agricultural technology to produce more food, but the pace at which being implemented is slow relative to other presumably developed nations like Europe, North America, South America, and so on. Okay, and this 21st century, starvation supposed to be a thing of the past, but yet some people around the world have don't have enough food to eat. In recent study in East Africa alone, 22 million people are at risk of hunger. Of course, there is drought-related issue. Um, is drought and other natural disaster avoidable? The answer is obviously yes. For instance, by implementation of technology, we can create crops that are more resistant to drought, and so on. Excuse me. African people and leaders should come together to work as one unit to better the lives of millions of Africans. In addition to investing in agriculture, Africa needs to develop other sectors of its economy, such as manufacturing and services. This will create more jobs and help diversify the economy, making it more resilient to change in global markets. To achieve this, Africa needs to invest in infrastructure, including roads, ports, telecommunication, and telecommunications. This will help connect rural areas to market and make it easier for business to operate. Furthermore, Africa needs to promote good governance and address corruption and political instability. These issues can undermine economic growth and discourage foreign investment. By promoting good governance, Africa can create a more stable and attractive business environment. When we speak about foreign investment, it doesn't mean that Africa should solely rely on foreign investors. African primarily should rely on African investors. Most rich African today do not save their wealth in Africa. They save they save their wealth in European banks. Think about who is the most beneficiary here. It is the European people, not Africans. It is absolutely not fair to African people. The wealth Africans make wealth in Africa and save their wealth in Europe, in European countries. It's not right. Absolutely, it's not right. It is the European corporates that are benefiting. If you question how, if rich Africans save their money in Europe to enrich Europe, corporates make money, and the banks also make money with African money. And it's unimaginable when African companies in Africa are crying out for money and investors to grow and develop their countries. Ultimately, to develop Africa, to create a system, to develop Africa, to create system to better Africa and Africans. Africa needs to invest heavily in education, encourage the people of Africa to invest their time heavily in education. the The initiative will help create highly skilled workers, engineers, doctors, agriculturalists, highly motivated and highly encouraged entrepreneurs. Education is a critical component of economic growth and development. Education is a strong tool that transforms the lives of Africans, and education is the fundamental tool that will transform Africa. By investing in education, Africa can create a more informed and capable workforce that are better equipped to control economic growth, to contribute to economic growth. I just want to conclude by saying that Africa has has the potential to become a major economic force in the world. Africa shall be the center of innovation. Africa shall be the prosperous continent by the will of God. God bless Africa. Thank you.